Hello, I'm going to show you where we're headed with our historical fiction story. Um, they're modeled after the Choose Your Own Adventure stories, and I'm going to show you one here. I'm going to read one to you so you have an idea of where we're headed and what we're going to write. This book is called A Day with the Dinosaurs, and historically it's set in the dinosaur age, but it's a fiction story. So here's the start of it. If you've never read a Choose Your Own Adventure before, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. I think most of you have seen these in the library, and we're going to take a crack at writing our own. So here is the first page that you can see here. I'm going to scroll up so you can see it better in your frame. You can see they write in second person. You're going to learn about second person in our grammar lessons or in our writing lessons. You are writing as in you. You're telling your audience that they are in the story. So I'm going to read this first page to you. You and some other kids have come to Wyoming for a dinosaur dig. You're looking for remains of the greatest creatures ever to walk on Earth. Suddenly, the leader of your group, Dr. Robert Holmes, shouts, "Here's a strange-looking fossil." You run to the sandstone ledge where Dr. Holmes is bending over a huge curved bone. He's one of the world's top experts on dinosaurs. "It looks like a leg bone," one kid says as Dr. Holmes brushes away some sand and pebbles. As you step closer for a better view, Dr. Holmes looks around. "Would someone go back to the Jeep and get my pick?" he asks. "I need to pry this rock out of the way. You want to help, but you don't want to miss what happens next." And at the end of these stories, it's kind of like a game. You get to choose what path. If you say you'll go to the Jeep, you're going to turn to page 3. And if you decide to stay and watch what happens, you turn to page 21. So in this example, we're going to turn to page 21. We're going to choose that. But before I go there, I want you to take a look how this is written. It is written in second person. You, your, you. They do have one kid, but that's a second character. It's not the main character. You are the main character. Then there's Dr. Holmes, and you want to help, but you don't want to miss what happens next. There aren't too many stories written in second person, and that's what makes this project a little bit interesting and might be a little bit more difficult. So let's go to page 21. Let's see what happens in our story. So you can see we skip. We're not reading this page. We're reading page 21. We're not reading page 20. So 21. Your friend Dan Martin says he'll go to the Jeep. "Thanks," says Dr. Holmes as he brushes more pebbles and sand away from the bone. As Dan runs off, Dr. Holmes looks closely at the bone. Suddenly you hear Dan cry from somewhere near the Jeep. Dr. Holmes and the others run after him. You start to follow, but your eye catches something gleaming in the sand. You dig around it and you pull out several small bleached bones. One of them fits into the other. They can't be dinosaur bones, you think. They're much too small. And at the bottom of the page it says to turn to page 41. So we turn to page 41. You slip the bones into your backpack and run after the others. They are all standing over Dan, who has fallen into a deep hole. Dr. Holmes is already splinting his leg. "Dan's leg may be broken," he says. "We'll have to take him back to camp." He picks up Dan and carries him toward the Jeep. Your friend Erica runs ahead to open the door. And at the bottom of that page it says to go to page 8. If you show Dr. Holmes the bones you found, you turn to page 8. If you just take them home with you, turn to page 44. I think we should go see Dr. Holmes. So let's go to Dr. Holmes. Here is Dr. Holmes. After Dr. Holmes puts Dan gently down on the seat, you take out the bones you found and show them to him. "These are very unusual bones," Dr. Holmes says as he peers at them through his pocket magnifier. "What are they?" "They're too small to be dinosaur bones," you say. "Size isn't the measure of what's a dinosaur and what is not," Dr. Holmes says as he hands the bones back to you. "Hold these very carefully. Our first business is to get Dan to the doctor. Then we'll come back here and you can show me where you found them. You may have discovered the smallest dinosaur that ever lived." The end. So that's a little bit, it's kind of that one's a cheesy story. But what I want you to do is I want you to think of your history essay that you wrote last week, what you're interested in, and come up with a fiction story, but you're only going to come up with one ending. Eventually we're going to come up with more endings, but for this week you're only coming up with one ending. So I'm going to give you some ideas. Here's the mystery of the Mayan. Here's one that's written on the Mayans. Deadwood City, that's centered on South Dakota, and it's more of a western from the United States. The Lost Tribe, it's more from Easter Island. The Secret Treasure of Tibet, none of these stories are true. They're just, their setting takes place from some time in history by balloon across the Sahara. So this one has geography, and it has about when the age of exploration with balloons. So you get kind of an idea, like here's a natural disaster, hurricane, even history of a certain hurricane. So you get the idea. Come up with a story for this week. Only have one ending. Do not go more than one ending. We're going to go with multiple endings next week, but you're going to write in you're going to write in second person, and you're going to come up with one ending, and you may use this story plan, which I have a link on the assignment page, where at the top you would put historical fiction. You can come up with your characters. I would limit your maybe I wouldn't go more than 3 characters, and make sure that main character is you're writing in second person. Your setting is, of course, your time in history, and then you got to come up with your plot. What is your story, what's going to happen, and your complication, that's your problem, and then your solution. We'll see what you come up with. Could you have, and if you got some vocabulary, you can write those down there. You want to have your rough draft. This is a rough draft. Rough draft is due Friday. Have any questions? Make sure you come talk to me.